Hey everybody, there's been a lot of news out there in the airwaves about the National Association of Realtors, NAR, and some of the like Burnett and Sitzer class action lawsuit surrounding, hey, commissions and, hey, we don't have to pay buyer's agents anymore, buyer brokers as Washington State now calls them. And there's been a lot of questions and a little bit of misinformation that we're going to kind of clear up for Washington State specifically. Now, first, let's talk a little bit about what happened in 2024. Well, what happened or what took place is that the National Association of Realtors, in which we are members of the Association of Realtors, but our MLS, our multiple listing service, the Northwest MLS, is not part of the National Association of Realtors. We are an independent and very progressive. And in 2019, technically we started in 2017, the discussion, and then we decoupled commissions back in 2019. And so sellers since 2019 have not had to pay any buyer brokerages. But there's pros and cons that go with this. But what did change for us in Washington State in 2024, which actually in January, is that all buyers by law have to sign a Washington State, or I should say a buyer brokerage agreement with a Washington State real estate broker. Now, when we talk about broker, that also means real estate agents. I know Washington State, they have some crazy ideas. So now we're all brokers. Some of us are, like myself, designated brokers, but there is some confusion. But nonetheless, that we are now all brokers, as they say. But we are now required by law, and as soon as possible, to have a buyer broker agreement. And that is super important because it has to disclose what the commissions are that a buyer broker are going to have. Now, we've had this since 2019. Washington State 2024 actually made it law. So if you're out there and you're like, oh my gosh, man, I got all these agents, or brokers saying you need to sign an agreement, whether it's exclusive to one person or multiple agents or multiple brokers. See, even I get tossed up around because I'm so used to saying agents, but understand that is why, because they are required by law to do so. All right. Now, why is that important? Two things. One, as we talk about compensation, so even if as a seller you choose not to offer compensation, which is an option, there are tactical reasons to do it. And you can see that during a buyer or in a buyer's agreement that a buyer can ask in their offer to a seller through their buyer broker to have the seller pay the compensation, as they have done historically for years and years and years until recently. Now, so when we talk about the pros and cons, it's simple enough. Let's blow this up really fast so you can see it a little bit better. Listen, on the don't pay the broker side, look, buyer agreements allow for you not to pay any commission. Now, one thing to keep in mind about that is that if you offer a zero commission in the buyer broker agreement between a buyer and a buyer broker, there's a little checkbox that says, hey, if the commission is zero, we can exclude sending you that home. Yes, that is part of what our agreement says, and that is something to keep in mind. All right, let's get back to it. When we talk about possibly fewer showings, key note here, it takes on average of about 20 buyers going through your home before it triggers an offer. So if we're getting fewer offers, or fewer buyers, I should say, going through the home, that could have an impact on the number of offers you receive. Buyer broker can still ask for part of the purchase and sale agreement for compensation. And that is, as you just saw on the prior screen, which is right here. For paragraph number C, when we take a look at it, it says sellers offer less than compensation. The highlighted section, request that the seller pay the balance of the compensation to firm as part of buyer's offer to purchase. All right, simple enough. That gets back into the, hey, why would I want to pay a buyer's broker. Well, they can still ask for it. So let's get back to really kind of what the nut is, and let's get over to the other side, right? Super important. We have been testing this since 2019, and what we've established is that 90% of the brokers that are practicing, buyer brokers, if you publish a commission that is 2% or higher, they actually will not change the requested commission. I know, super funny, right? But what we've found out is that we can actually mitigate part of the compensation. If we put in 0, we have found out that other brokers will actually come back and ask for 3%. Super interesting. But if you put like 2, 2.25, 2.5, they won't change that. And I thought that was super interesting. You can use this tool to offset traditional selling costs, like the real estate excise tax, or what I call the state sales tax, which is super important. And the reason is that if we're able to use basically lesser agents that are unwilling or not willing or don't have the skill sets to ask for or justify a better buyer brokerage fee, why not capitalize on that to offset some of your costs? And that's how we're working with many of the sellers that we work with. The last one is, hey, listen, by offering something, you definitely will get more showings. Listen, it's a business out there. People that do not have good negotiation skills, they're going to avoid that confrontation, and they're just going to work with people who will give them the commission or a commission that they're looking for. That's why it's super important to understand who you're working with and what their skill sets are to best benefit you, not just somebody who's going to write up some paperwork, throw it at a seller and hope that it sticks, and then get a quick closing and move on to the next person. Why? And why is that important? Because good brokers are not cheap, and cheap brokers are not good. I will see you on the next video. You have an absolutely beautiful day. Take care.